UndergroundVideoNetwork.com presents the We Talk Too Much podcast.
This is where the fun begins.
Comic books, superheroes, sci-fi, gaming, and everything nerdy.
That's it. This is just too weird.
Now, here's your host of the We Talk Too Much podcast, Mike and Richard.
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Underground Video Network's We Talk Too Much. Well, who are we? Well, I am Michael Boroff.
I'm Richard Catterjohn.
Rich, how's it going?
Good. A little windy around here.
Yeah, for the people that live in the Midwest and like all of Ohio, it is just. I have been looking out my window expecting to see a cow fly by, and then a few minutes later, another cow, but then finding out that it was the same cow. Yeah, a wee bit windy here in the Midwest, but good Lord. But it's been a perfect. We haven't got a chance to talk for a little while, Richard. This is.
Yeah, we got to get caught up.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing, Richard, even with the advanced technology that we have, life still, you know, finds a way to say, yeah, not this weekend, you know. But the good thing is we really do have plenty to talk about. I'm chalking it up, Richard, too, that we're giving our listening and viewing audience time to get caught up on the stuff we're going to get ready to talk about. So, you know, we don't have to worry about spoilers. And that's my BS excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. The biggest thing we haven't gotten a chance to talk about was the season, luckily to say season finale of The Last of Us. Wow. It was, as someone who played the game, that was one of the great things about the show was it follows the game to a T, but still throws in enough unexpectedness for people like me that know the show in and out, surprised. And for people like me that watched, or for people like me that played the game, being around my friends the days before the finale, knowing where it was headed was just like, it was just spine tingling. Like, oh man, you have no idea what's coming.
Yeah, I heard a lot of stuff, you know, that it really did hold up, you know, and our one episode where we talked about it, you know, I'm still haven't really caught up on everything, so I'm not sure exactly, but I'll let Mike, you know, he was really gushing all over the last time we talked, so.
I do. That show, that entire season is one of those rarities that from beginning to end, even my most favorite shows, there's always an episode or two every season that's kind of like, it was okay. They kind of dropped the ball. In my opinion, for somebody who's very attached to that property, that series was flawless from beginning to end. I can't think of any bad episode. It was quality from beginning to end. One of the things that really took the internet just went crazy for is there's a great scene in the game that they actually did translate directly to the show, was Joel and Ellie's encounter with go to somewhere if you haven't seen, with a giraffe. And within the context story, you know, you've got a post-apocalyptic world. You know, there were zoos, you know, and stuff escaped. You know, it you know, wasn't too far-fetched, you know. what really blew people's minds was even I was watching it, and when the draft came out, and it was just like awe-inspiring. My first thought, being a jaded person, is man, that CGI looks amazing. Great job of that. Then come to find out the very next day, no, that was a real giraffe. I mean, come on. How awesome are you? How easy it would have been. It probably would have been easier to put a CGI giraffe, like you have animal handlers, no, you got Dale over here on his computer. Oh, you need a giraffe, boom, giraffe, There's a guy with a rod or a ball on a rod, holding it, it's like, look over here, and then, the green screen, the green gloved hand is the giraffe's tongue. No, it was a real giraffe. But man, one of the things that was great about that final episode, and again, just in case we took a couple weeks, spoiler alert, the scene in the hospital where when Joel realizes they finally get to their destination. After everything has happened, they finally get to their destination. They reach the hospital run by the Fireflies. There are doctors there that are going to be able to find out why Ellie is immune, which we found out in the previous episode with the amazing cameo of Ashley Johnson, who did the voice of Ellie in the game, playing Ellie's mother in a flashback, which we didn't get in the game. And we got a note. And it was a heart-wrenching note. I remember Ellie reading this note. But no, we got to see Ashley Johnson, and we learned it was kind of like a Blade scenario, where just as the mom is getting ready to deliver, she's attacked and bitten by an infected. So, the infection was transmitted to the baby just moments before, she had a chance to cut the cord. So we know that. But in the game, we knew that the hospital was a very divisive moment. It was one of those things where gamers were talking about it. And when Joel becomes aware that they are going to have to kill Ellie because it has to do with something in her brain, Papa Bear stood up and said, bullshit. No. It was controversial moments where he put the good of his daughter. He sees Ellie as his daughter now above the rest of the world. And he just, anybody and everybody that was in his way, doctor or not, doctor, nurse, soldier, he laid waste to that hospital to go get his baby girl. And the talk around the water cooler, I knew it was coming because I remember what it was like at the game store. There was people that agreed. There was people that disagreed. There was people that were like genuinely like, I'm not saying they hated Joel for what he did, but didn't agree with what he did. And it's one of those things that makes a property great is when you can have, I don't want to say division, but that kind of conversation. It's not your cookie cutter. Oh, it was a great ending. Everybody's happy, But it was phenomenal. I really did. Honestly, it was one of the best season finales I've ever seen in the entire series, from the first episode through I'm planning on binging it because it's like a comic book where, yeah, you read each week or month to month, but also being able to, now that everything is fully digested, all the minutia of episode to episode, now you can just watch it from beginning to end as one huge sprawling story, and it was fantastic.
Cool. I guess it's been renewed, right?
Yes, and two things. Another reason I know I talk about it every time we talk about the show, and we are not affiliated with them in any way. I wish we could get a sponsor like them. But I listen to the podcast that's hosted by Troy Baker and the showrunners, and learning about why certain decisions were made, what decisions they made for the show, that the guy who was one of the front runners of the game was like completely pissed at himself about for not thinking of. Small Easter eggs throughout the entire series. And I found out by listening to the podcast, one of the best ones was for those that have played the game, who have played part 2, there's a very special character that's going to be part of the main focus of the second season. The actress that did the mocap for her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of the actresses that did the mocap for. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Why am I drawing a blank on this? But one of the main. It's hard to describe her as an antagonist or a protagonist in the second game because it's really your point of view. But the actress that played her in the mocap and did the voice, was one of the nurses in the hospital that she had a mask on. If you didn't know, you would never have known. And then I got a chance to listen to the podcast and then see the behind the scenes stuff. And there was like a small video of her, it's like, and cut, and everybody's cheering. And she took the mask off, and my jaw just dropped. And because if I hadn't learned it from the podcast, I wouldn't have went after that footage. But when she took the mask off, I'm like, oh my God, it's her. But one of the big speculations, one of the things I've heard about the upcoming season is that we might be getting, it wasn't just renewed for season 2, it might be split into 2 more seasons.
Oh, wow.
Which makes a lot of sense, especially for the second game, because in the first game, your main characters are Joel and Ellie. And it's going to bug me. Are Joel and Ellie. But in the second game, The Last of Us Part 2, this is so unprofessional.
Mike's looking up something, folks.
Yeah, well, because it's gonna bug me because she deserves.
I know I was trying to find it for you, but I couldn't find it either.
Abby. Yes, the actress that did the mocap for Abby in the second game was one of the nurses in the series finale. But in game 2, and here is where I will respect the spoilers because it's been out for years, but just in case for those people that are watching it and or listening that don't know anything about the game, I will be respectful. But in the second game, it's not just focused on Ellie. The game itself is split evenly amongst Ellie and Abby. And they're completely 2 different points of view. And when I had heard that they're going to do possibly 2 seasons, that made a lot of sense because now you're going to have the time to give characters their full arc.
Cool.
Yeah, I am so happy. I mean, The Last of Us, that really set the standard not only for just great shows in general. I mean, that was a well-crafted masterpiece. That set the standard for video game movies. You know what I mean?
Right.
Historically, you would think that those properties would lead to the best movies, and as we've seen in the past, that's hardly ever the case. Sonic the Hedgehog excluded, because both of those are, I love both of those movies. But at the same time, those were great because of the character. It wasn't, we didn't try to get a Sonic the Hedgehog movie in the green zone. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a direct translation. So it's like the asterisk, But it set the bar,
Yeah, I hope that actually even other series now will be up to a higher bar just to compete against it.
Yeah. Yeah. You watch, Richie. You're very good at predicting things. This is going to be one of my predictions. Again, Sonic the Hedgehog aside, video game properties have usually been overlooked. Granted, I don't even really count The Witcher, because those, to start with, were more loosely based on the books, and granted, it delved off very far, which is another episode in and of itself. So I don't really include that because it's not pertaining to the game. I'm betting you, Richard, that The Last of Us might have the same impact, or near the same impact, that Iron Man did.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we had, before Iron Man, yes, we had, Batman and, yes. But it wasn't until Iron Man where the studios went, oh shit, this is a cash cow. It can be done. It can be done. And I'm betting you any amount of money that studios are going to look at The Last of Us and say, oh, it's not that these properties aren't doable. We've just not been doing them right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's just like, I just picked this up, the Phantom. This is not the old one. This actually came out in 2009, right after Iron Man came out. And this is just a total on Sci-Fi Channel. I don't even remember this.
That's not Billy Zane.
No, it's not. That's
I know.
It's like, when did this come out,
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to see a bunch of probably knockoff series, and then we'll see a lot of stuff try to reach that level,
Another really good example, Uncharted. I enjoyed the movie. Could they have called it anything else other than Uncharted with Nathan Drake and still been good? Yes. I'm not knocking it, but it wasn't Uncharted. You know what I mean? It wasn't at the level like The Last of Us. Now, could Uncharted have been Uncharted would have been a better series.
Right.
It really would have.
Yeah, because you could kept it moving instead of being limited to just like, what was an hour, about 2 hours, if you had a little more room to grow and stuff,
Yeah.
Well, that's just like Tomb Raider. I did love the first Tomb Raider movie,
The first, yes.
And then the second one was okay, but if that's a series, I think that would work as a series too.
Yeah. And I correct myself. There is one other exception, and I will argue this to this day. First Mortal Kombat.
Oh.
That is still, that one, in my opinion, that one still holds up. I watched it not more than a few weeks ago, and I still, F that hunk of shit that came, F that piece of crap that came out not too long ago. No, that was not Mortal Kombat. No. No, the first Mortal Kombat was a good movie with a rocking soundtrack. but we hadn't seen anything up to that part. Honestly, when Mortal Kombat set the standard for video game movies, now granted it was already pretty low, thank you Super Mario Brothers. You know, when that's the movie that set the bar for video game adaptations, I'm telling you, Richard, I really do foresee. The movie industry will never go away, but I really think, Richard, you're going to see a big shift from big budget movies on properties. Let me specify. On licensed properties, Marvel exclude. I mean, you're always going to have that, but you're going to see a bigger shift to the streaming platforms that can draw out a story instead of just, you know, at most a 2-hour movie.
Well, that, like you're just saying, you know, with Sony's new contract with Netflix, they're going to be looking for properties to go to Netflix. You know, I mean, I was just flipping through Netflix today, and you can see how much stuff is Sony now on there.
Yeah, you really, yeah. And then, you know, Amazon's going to jump on that boat too.
Well, yeah, they got Paramount under their wings a little bit, so.
Yep. Well, man, I'm telling you, this has been Pedro Pascal's year, man.
And of course, we even got the new Super Mario or the Mario Brothers movie thing coming out.
Oh yeah,
the trailer.
I know. It does. I know everybody has been ripping on Chris Pratt doing the voice. I'm not going to disagree with those people. Would he have been my first choice? No. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have considered him. But that being said, the movie really does look fun. This looks like a movie. Not only it looks like one of those movies, Richard, where I could go see it, enjoy the movie, and take like my nephews and my niece and my, you know, you could take the kids to go see.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to take itself serious.
No. Oh, good Lord, it's got Jack Black in it. It's possible. If that movie tried to take itself seriously, Jack would have been like, time out. Yeah.
Well, it's like that Disney movie that's not based on a video game, but it's about a character in a video game that goes from game to game that they had out for. They did a couple of them there.
Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah. You know, it's if they can live. I really liked the first one. You know, the second one, but you know what I'm saying. It was that's like a video game movie type thing that I like.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost a parody.
Yeah, it sort of was, but it was just shy of it, you know.
Yeah, shy, but it still had. It wasn't played for comedic. I mean, it was funny, but it wasn't. Oh, I take that back. It wasn't a parody
No, it was a kids. It was a kids movie, you know.
Yeah, it had a lot of heart. Wreck-It Ralph is still one of my favorite ones, and I really did enjoy the second one, mostly for the cameos and all the.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the prince. Oh my God! Come on, man! The scene with the princesses. That was just.
I just think they tried to cram too much in the second one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they got to go somewhere. You know, they're running out of comic book ideas, so they got to go back somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we've got the Flash coming up. I mean, that could be. No. Yeah. You know damn well that the executives, after everything, we won't get into the policy of it, but the executives, after everything with the star of the movie, with all that stuff, like, oh my God, put the Keaton trailer out. Oh man, we are sinking, and he is going to be the bucket that, you know, is going to save it. Put the Affleck stuff out. Put the Affleck stuff out. Get it out there now, you know.
DC is going to have another year before we really start understanding what's going on, I think.
I think it'll be at least a year before they understand what the hell is going on. I'm sorry, you can't tell me that. I mean, I know we've talked about James Gunn before, and I'm sure he's got a solid plan, but man, that poor guy really does have his work cut out for him.
We get through this year and we get rid of the end of the DC EU or whatever,
The Snyderverse.
Yeah, the extended universe stuff, Then they get to start over, so hopefully that'll be good. And then we get rid of the Arrowverse, I know you didn't want to go there, but
you understand, before we actually started filming, me and Richard always kind of give ourselves a brief idea of where it's like trying to meander just a flock of ducks. You know what I mean? You can't rein us in, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the Flash was we're still going to hold off. It's my God. No, if I go down that rabbit hole, I'm not going to be able to see the light of day. But what I was saying earlier is Pedro Pascal, man.
Oh yeah,
dude is having the time of his life right now. He's everywhere. He has been fully adopted by the internet. And I know I've said this before, but it was like when we got Henry Cavill, he was like our beacon. He was cool. He was Superman. He was Geralt of Rivia. We found out he's a complete nerd. We found out he's a good dude. And the entire internet rallied, he's great. We have to protect him. We failed him. He's still great, but we just talked about the DCU, Witcher, but no, we have to protect Pedro. That is a good dude, and he's one of those celebrities where we're of the age, Richard. We don't really put celebrities, on a pedestal anymore because hey, look at the guy that Flash. It's like I have a Flash, statue up there because Justice League came out. I'm like, this guy's great, and then a Fantastic Beast. This guy's really cool. I like this guy, and then you hear about him, and you're like, ooh, yeah, no, not a fan. But when you hear about Pedro, he's just such a good dude. His episode of Saturday Night Live was one of the first episodes of Saturday Night Live I've watched in well over a decade. Just, you see him on the talk shows, but so we've got him as Joel. He's killing it. Then the Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to remember where it was that we left off. Where did we leave off? Got to see him go back to the Mandalorian homeworld because he finds the other Mandalorians, and he wants to be not renewed. That's Logan's Run. He wants back into the fold,
right?
And we have the armor. Oh God, this has nothing to do. I'm talking to Richard right now. What's the big con going on right now, Richard? Lexington?
Lexington, yeah.
Okay, dude. I've got friends that today, as of me and Richard talking about this right now, we're at Lexington, right? The armorer was there.
Oh yeah, I think she was, yeah.
And one of my friends, his name's Brett, great Star Wars. He's one of the 501st. One of his best. He's a Wookiee, and shared a picture today, Richard, on Facebook of him putting armor. I don't know if it was one that he made because he's a great craftsman. He does all that armor work on the armorer. In my mind. Yeah, on the actress herself. He's like, I'm arming the armor. And I'm like, oh my God, that was, yeah. But sorry, I digress. That was just too cool. I had to mention that. It was jealous at the same time, but I was like, I'm so happy for my friend that he got to. I mean, that is a moment right there. That's like getting to hand David Tennant a sonic screwdriver. That is a moment. But see his trials, what he has to do to back into the family, for lack of a better expression.
Right.
And
well, it was supposed to cleanse his sins because he removed his helmet.
Yes. Which they finally answered one of the questions that I have always wondered. It's a little forward. We'll get there, but I have to mention it was when they're all sitting around the campfire when they're on their quest to save the child. Bo-Katan asks, he's like, "How do you eat?" And like all of a sudden, like you heard every nerd just get silent. Like she's asking the question. Like we get our food, we dip. Okay, okay. But it was really neat to see the armor again and seeing family. What was great was at the beginning of that episode when they showed the young child going through the ritual, with the helmet. You can't tell me they didn't do it on purpose, because the child that they cast in that role, I thought it was a flashback, Richard.
Oh yeah, it did look like it.
I really thought it was a flashback. And then the thing with the big space alligator, which, by the way, how shitty is their choice of campsites? I mean, come on. I've been camping. You don't you don't camp in the Florida Everglades. There's crocodiles in that water. But no, when, the creature came out and then all of a sudden you saw the N1 starfighter, you're like, no, that's the flashback. That's now. And they had to have done that on purpose. And I mean, I was here for it. That was great storytelling.
Yeah, I think they just did that because they needed to show like the past with the present and stuff like that, So that's why it was a flashback, but at the same time, it represented probably the past,
Yeah. What I'm still hoping for, Richard, is we got a good explanation. It's like, well, how do you eat? Well, we dip. I want a little bit of the history on why they don't remove the helmet. Now, I'm sure Star Wars fans, hold up, don't attack me just yet. I'm sure it's somewhere. But in the context of The Mandalorian, I wish that we could, get a little bit more of the history of why that particular sect doesn't remove their helmets,
Yeah, I don't remember the whole story myself, so.
Yeah.
I know I rewatched some of the Clone Wars episodes where Obi-Wan went to the planet, remember, because he had a thing for the One Queen stuff.
Yep.
But maybe we'll just get a big. But what I think is going to happen is Grogu is going to come out and he's going to be the one that links everybody together and he's going to take over.
I do. Well, here's something great I found out, Richard. This is why I like listening to podcasts and stuff. Is they essentially, when they shot The Mandalorian, like the first season, it was like they did a lot of the first and second season shot at the same time.
Right.
So even they didn't know how much of a cultural phenomenon Baby Yoda was going to be. So it wasn't until they started writing season 3, like there was even talk that Grogu was going to stay with Luke. Like when they did the first 2 episodes, they had that in mind. But I mean, let's be honest, there. I mean, yeah, it was a cash cow. If we can slap baby, Grogu on it, we're going to sell it. But at the same time, too, they listened to the fans, and the fans were like, "We love him.
I just
Don't do it."
Hold on a second. You're hearing me okay, right?
Yeah.
I had someone just send a message saying that they're having trouble hearing us. I don't know.
No, I hear you just fine.
Okay. Let's just continue, and hopefully the recording's okay. Hopefully it's just something maybe in the stream.
I mean, I know I'm part deaf in one ear, so I'm pretty good at reading lips. But even I'm not that good. But no, it was when they found out, what kind of impact Grogu was going to have. They're just like, oh no, we're all in. That's why we're seeing a lot more of him in this season than we did even in previous seasons, because they know what they have now.
Okay. Yeah, it's just I know they're trying to expand. I think they're going to ride this whole line and make the sequels relevant, because I know that one episode where they did the flashback about the cloning and stuff. Maybe they can. Maybe they'll be able to do something, and maybe have their own movie that makes everything worth watching.
Well, I got to be honest, because it's what I mentioned for The Last of Us 2, where it was just like every episode was great. We did have. I understand what they were trying to do, and it in and of itself was a good story. But when they were giving the story about the one cloning doctor,
Right,
and the relocation program or whatever, it was a good story. It gave a lot more history. It gave a lot more background into the Star Wars universe. Was it a great episode? I mean, the only thing that episode really did prove is that the dark side does have cookies. Thank you. Yeah. That was the first thing I thought when she bit in that biscuit. I'm like, oh my God, come to the dark side. We've got cookies. I'm like, they did the meme. But it answered a lot of, questions like uber nerds like us have. Like, well, what did they do with this? And how did they do this? And seeing the Star Destroyers being stripped down, that was really cool.
yeah.
That was really cool. And then you find out. Well, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just thinking that's also on Bad Batch when they were breaking in and stealing the data and stuff. We got to see the decommissioned.
Which we will fully talk about the Bad Batch here. But even, as something as mundane as the cloning doctor became a like data entry. What I liked about that, Richard, was, growing up with Star Wars, there was always those kind of broad political themes. You had the Empire, and, the Empire, is like this. Well, this was very kind of reminiscent about, Project Paperclip, the Nazi scientists that were brought over. It's like, these are very intelligent people. We are going to utilize them. It had them doing that with that doctor felt very similar to it. We're not going to imprison you. You were, I don't want to say bureaucrat, but you were a scientist who, let's face it, probably didn't have that much of a choice in what he was doing from their point of view. So let's bring him on. But at the same time, he's like, we're putting you in an office. That episode very much reminded me of Office Space. Even when the one woman was just like, Grog's Day, huh? I'm like, oh my god, you know. But that episode was neat that it gave a great. It expanded the ground level of that universe.
It shows the sort of the start of the First Order also.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that has to be what's going on behind the scenes, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I won't be surprised that if we don't see a little bit more episodes like that.
Yeah.
You know. And then this last episode where the previous episode where the Mandalorian goes to Bo-Katan, and she's just chilling on her throne, like, what do you want? Don't care. Pissed off, and she's like, no, it's not cursed, blah blah blah. So he goes, and that bothered me, Richard. It was almost like when they wrote the previous episode where he goes back to Carl Weathers' character. It's like, I want that droid. I'll do anything I can to get that droid. That droid is very important to me. Next episode, I need this part. We can't find that part. Cool. Can I have that one? Right, you almost died the last episode trying to get that guy back, and now you're just like, I'll take the R5 unit. But we got to see Amy Sudeikis. Belle, I love that character. Oh my god, I love that character so much. What we love is we're really seeing a lot of Grogu's training pay off, because that little shit is just back flipping all over the place. It's just, like, I got little legs, I can't keep up. Screw you! I'm just going to do a gigantic backflip and I'll land in your arms. That was priceless. I giggled. It's like, where's my little guy at? But yeah, so he goes back to the Mandalorian homeworld, which that was really cool, because showing the effects of the bombing.
Yeah.
Like literally like a sheet of glass. It's like, wow, As he delves deeper into the caverns, he finds the Morlocks. I mean the aliens. Come on, you can't tell me, Richard. The first thing you didn't think of was Morlocks when you saw
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I was really surprised. Only Richard's going to get this joke, but I was really surprised there wasn't a bunch of really good-looking, blonde, stupid people up on the surface. You got. But Mandalorian gets captured. Grogu goes to the rescue, goes back and gets Bo. Bo leads the ship back, which one thing we'll argue, people, and she even kind of addresses it, Grogu didn't so much fly back to her homeworld. The droid had a lot to do with it. It was like a self-driving car. Okay, Grogu wasn't like, with the steering wheel like this,
No, if he was flying, it'd be going upside down. That would have been
awesome. But she comes back. She saves Din. It was great moments between the two of them. It really was a lot of great moments between the two of them. Crack me up. Was Din gets to the waters. It's like, I'm going to bathe in the waters, and he takes the jetpack off. He takes this off. He leaves the armor on, which makes me wonder, Richard, could that have been a loophole? Because he's in the waters that would forgive him for taking the helmet off. Couldn't he have taken the helmet off in the waters? Because, I mean, it's like, like committing a sin in the confessional booth. You're right there anyways,
Right.
But but he takes off the jetpack, he takes off the sword, gets 3 steps in the water, and at least, I mean, I had to rewind it because I was laughing so hard because it was not meant to be slapstick. I mean, that was some good slapstick comedy. Him taking 2 steps and just whoop. But yeah, my first thought was, man, jetpack sure would have been handy about now. You know, you're gonna now. At least they did explain it that the waters originally weren't that deep, but it was the bombings that opened up
the cracked it open or something.
Yes, yeah, which led to a great revelation when Bo goes in and rescues Din. She sees the mythosaur.
Right.
Come on, bro. The mythosaur. Bruh. Talk about on the nose. It's like, how do you know the mythosaur isn't real? It's in the goddamn name. You know, it's not called the factosaur. It's not called the trutholator. It's the mythosaur. But she sees it.
Yeah.
And that was a real turning point for her. Because then later, after, even, Richard, if you think about even before they get back to the Mandalorian camp, she didn't take her helmet off.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because Bo Katan, prior to seeing the mythosaur, the minute she got in that ship, but something changed. Like she saw the light.
Well, yeah, it's like she's living part of the legend that was supposed to happen. That was part of the reuniting of the whatever, you know, the different sects or whatever, you know.
Yeah. And they fly back to the Mandalorian camp, and Baz questions him, and he brings the water, and the armorer was able to confirm these are the waters. You are forgiven.
Yeah.
And so are you, Bo-Katan. And she, you know, and she asked her, she goes, have you taken your helmet off since you bathed in the waters? Because she didn't even think, I think all that stuff was instinctual to her. She didn't make a conscious choice not to take her helmet off.
Right.
You know, because let's be honest, Richard. Well, it's hard for me to relate because I'm a bald man. But for somebody that's not a part of that sect, you were just in water. You got out of the water. You take your helmet off. You dry your hair off.
Yeah.
I imagine as a bald man, I'm asking you, Richard. You have hair. You would, you know.
Yeah, I just got drenched today, and I come back, you know, and I was soaking wet, you know.
But you know, and the armorer's like, "Have you taken it off?" And I mean, that's such a great level of acting, because helmet on, you could see that moment of realization for Bo-Katan, where she's just like, "Huh, no, I haven't. Welcome aboard, buddy." And if she didn't give a shit, Richard, like she claimed to have, that would have been the moment right then and there, like, whoop, nope, I'm out, you know. Has yet to do it. So, I mean, that was a major thing for that character.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's going to set her up as being one of the ones that's going to unite everybody again. You know, I just think this whole series, that's where it's leading to.
Didn't think of something, Richard. Again, this is because, you know, this is the way my nerdy mind works. You can't take in the Mandalorian culture, if in their sect, you cannot take your helmet off. What if the faceplate comes up like Iron Man?
Oh.
I mean, you didn't. They never really say expose. The wording is what's important. That, you know, that would be where my ass would be like, according to your contract, you know, I didn't take it off, but I constructed a helmet, you know, that comes up. I'm just saying.
I'm not sure where that goes to.
for any of our watchers or listeners, if this is something again that has been touched upon, man, I'm legitimately curious, just like literally Bo-Katan. Oh,
At least a little slot opens up like the old Iron Man mask and put a straw.
yeah. Come on, he never took the helmet off, but it popped up. What's the people? For those of you out there who are more, in touch with the Mandalorian culture, man, I want an answer. But man, that moment with Grogu on the beach, God, that was so cool. Just because it really makes you. He's a baby, but it really makes you wonder how that alien species, like how they age, but like mentally, because it's just like if I go up to a toddler, I can talk to them, and it's like a little bit, toddler understanding, like up, ooh, up. But he's just like, hey, the way he communicates to Grogu and the Grogu's understanding,
Yeah, I think he's a further along, if I'm not sure. If Yoda was like 900 years old and he's 50 years old, so he'd be about what, 2, 3 maybe human?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I really do. I like how I really like the more of the understanding of the Mandalorian culture, like where there's the foundlings, and you wait until they're old enough to understand the creed. It's not just like, oh, he's a foundling, and like 5-year-old, slap the helmet on him, like no, can't take that off. They wait, they have that ceremony, and it was the same with Grogu. He's too young yet, but he, like you say, Richard, he's further along than I think even we really understand yet.
Yeah, but I think like they're also looking at it as physically he's might not be that far along yet.
Right. Yeah. When he's still kind of, oh my God, I melt every time that little guy just walks. Oh, I'm a grown ass man, but even I'm like, it's so cute.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm thinking. That's more related to that he physically can't do some of the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he could point and shoot and have reflexes like lightning fast and bounce all over the walls.
I was so expecting, Richard, like when they have the duel, that would, they chose the weapon, but somebody's going to do it, Richard. You watch. Somebody's going to make the deep fake, or like the thing where they're faced off like this, and the kid just walks up to him and punts him. Like, yeah, but come on. Like think about it from a teenager's point of view. You want me to go up against that kid? Yeah. Which is probably a good thing you didn't, because damn well Grogu would have put the smackdown on that child.
Yeah, Grogu might know the chokehold,
Yeah, hey, dude, he choked down a Rancor. I mean, he.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was referring.
Yeah, but that kid didn't know that. Literally sees this like little foot tall green beanie baby. He's like, you want me to fight him? But the moment that oh my God, which leads us to one of the great scene where the armorer is making that new piece of armor for Grogu. Grogu has those flashbacks of which one of the end all be all greatest cameos I have seen Star Wars do yet. Having Ahmed Best as the Jedi that rescued Grogu. For those of you who don't know, Ahmed Best was, through no fault of his own, the actor that portrayed Jar Jar Binks.
Right.
Now, we are amongst those people that, yes, we will badmouth Jar Jar because Jar Jar as a character sucked ass. Not his fault. We separate the actor from the character. That poor man, he was one of him and poor Jake Lloyd really got the brunt of the negativity of the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah.
And to see him get the credit he deserves, badass Jedi, and I really hope to see more of him.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
He pulled out the 2 sabers and stuff.
that was gangster. I'm sorry, but a double blade lightsaber is cool and all, man. But when you got someone like him and Ahsoka Tano that can like dual wield, dude, that's badass. But we got to see him be Grogu's savior, and it was one of those things, Richard, where I was watching the show and I knew that guy. I know that. How do I know that guy? And then when I looked it up right then and there, I'm like, oh, bravo. No. He's getting the props he deserves. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really cool when he was escaping on the bike and stuff, you know.
The only thing about that, it's not, again, not him. The only thing that bothered me about that was, yeah, he's still a Jedi.
Yeah.
I've seen Jedis pull down, TIE fighters, this gunship,
Yeah, yeah.
But it wouldn't have made, I mean, even if they did it like once or twice, because there was a few of those coming after him. Even just one, just show that it took too much effort for him. I mean, and I'm not saying that he was a weak Jedi. I mean, I can imagine, even using the Force, it takes a little,
Yeah, well, he was trying not to hit stuff too, Coruscant, when you're flying all over the place,
Yeah. Which again shows you what the Empire is like, man. They are literally opening fire off. Can you imagine? You're just some dude chilling in your apartment in Coruscant. You got your lady friend with you after moon cycles, trying to get this person back up to your apartment. You're getting ready to watch space Netflix, and all of a sudden your apartment just explodes because some dude's chasing a Jedi.
And at least they were clones and not stormtroopers.
Yeah.
At least clones hit the right targets.
Yeah. Read recently, not too long ago, Richard, that makes absolute sense. Because I know stormtrooper, the running joke is that a stormtrooper couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, because when you look at, episode 4, A New Hope, they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn when they were chasing them in the Death Star, right?
Right.
It was on purpose. They were under, I can't confirm it, but they were under orders. Don't kill them. We need them to escape.
Yeah.
Because there was a great meme I saw, Richard, where it was like droid troopers, clone troopers, and then stormtroopers. But it was like next to it, like their targeting abilities. Like the droids did this, then there's like stormtroopers in A New Hope, and it's like all the bullets are going, all the lasers are going around like Luke. You know what I mean? Like they're missing him.
Right.
But when they showed the Mandalorian, it was like they were. Like, you look at the way they shoot at the Mandalorian, they're hitting him every damn time.
Yeah. But, it just depends, because I think there is levels upon stormtroopers too,
Oh, yeah. I mean, you personally, but you can't clone skill.
Well, they're not even clones.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. That's when things... Yeah, when they got away with the clones, which is a great lead up to the Bad Batch. Oh,
Yeah, I know. That's what it's that. That was a great episode where we figured out what was going on, why they were switching from clones and stuff.
Yes. And then even the whole political aspect of it, like, no, now that we're done with the clones, we're throwing them away, but they're still living sentient beings. They deserve rights. And they're like, nah, they're not. They're disposable, and
Right.
how that all goes into play. Wow.
Yeah, it's almost like they're considered slaves almost.
They're not people. They're weapons.
Yeah.
They're like a gun. You don't. That plasma rifle doesn't need the right to vote. So why does the
Yeah.
object that's firing it? And that's the great thing about like the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch is like all this background stuff that you kind of think about but never really put that much thought into is they're filling in a lot of holes. Like what happened to the clones after this happened? Well, this is what happened. And just a lot of what happened to all the Imperial troopers that got like after the Death Star blew up, what happened to all those people that were captured. They were put into rehabilitation programs. They're really starting to put fill in a lot of not plot holes, but just fill in a lot of the holes where fans like you and I have had questions about for years.
Right. And like I said, I still think they're all leading up to the formation of the First Order. So
yeah. Well, they're definitely because they're everything with the One Doctor and cloning is leading up towards Palpatine's return, and
yeah.
So yeah. It's been I said before, it's been a great year for Pedro Pascal, man. We got The Last of Us, we got The Mandalorian. Got to figure out a way to just, not even as the Mandalorian, just him himself as a voice, a cameo in Bad Batch, and just complete the trifecta,
Yeah, I saw that meme where it just says throw him and a young child together and you got to hit series.
Yeah, no kidding. The other meme I really like too was a picture of Ellie and a picture of Grogu, and
they're both.
it's like when Pedro Pascal's give you that smile. And if you get a chance to, Graham Norton, he's a British talk show host. I'm sorry, nobody in the States over here has reached his level of entertaining talk shows. If you get a chance to watch that, Richard, with Pedro Pascal on it, because he's there with Dame Judi Dench. Oh, highly recommend watching that. The two of those two's interactions was just priceless. But yeah. Oh, Ray, you know what? We're at the hour mark. It's about time for us to wrap up. I don't even want to talk bad about The Flash right now, Richard. I want to leave this episode on a high note. This is positive. Aside from the fact that The Flash still sucks so hard.
Yeah, but we got new episodes of Superman and Lois, even though that's kind of sad after the last episode.
Oh my God. Dude, that is one of the most well-written shows. The CW does not deserve that show.
I don't even think it's part of the CW. That's not even, it's gone,
Exactly. The first couple episodes of the new season, we've gotten to see the new. I didn't have to look it up. I know the actor that took over for the previous Jonathan Kent. His name is Michael Bishop. I know because I just saw today his birthday. Happy birthday, Michael! Dude, he's knocked it out of the park. He done a he had some really big shoes. It's got to be hard for any actor to not only to step into a previously established character's role, but to come onto a show.
Right.
There are already a couple seasons, and great job. I really enjoyed him, and their writing has really hit their stride when it comes to Jonathan and Jordan's relationship. I really feel those are brothers. You know what I mean? It's the two of them. I really enjoy their dynamic, even more so now because they really do. They're not, that fake sitcom,
No,
buddy. They still clash from here to time, but those are brothers. Oh, Tyler Hoechlin is still so impressive as Superman. I really enjoy. He's really pulling off the Clark Kent Superman
yeah.
dynamic. You know what I mean? He really does embody both of those.
It's kind of cool that they could do a real Superman on the small screen again. Because
Yes.
it really harkens back to when Dean Cain was doing Superman.
Hmm.
I always liked Dean Cain as Superman myself, because I always did like that series. I know it kind of got hokey there sometimes, but
Yeah.
I could look past that because I really thought he did Superman well. But I think
Yeah.
doing this as Superman is really well, and I think hopefully once they get this new movie going, I hope they can do just as well, if not better.
Yeah.
I think it hopefully sets the bar up a little higher where they know they have to go to this level.
Yeah. And the other thing that Superman as Lois excels at, that the Flash has completely dropped the ball on, was the supporting characters.
Right.
Because in Superman and Lois, yes, the show is about Superman and Lois, but the supporting characters are fleshed out. They're not stereotypes, and their characters are genuinely interesting. John Henry Irons and Natasha, especially, they are doing wonders with Natasha this season, showing her interaction in her new world. In that last episode with when Sam Lane, when they realized he was like, "I'm your grandpa in the other universe." It's like we knew it, but we didn't think about it.
Yeah, but then again, he did do a little turncoat and wanted to recruit her, so
Yeah.
it was not really exactly what we thought was going on.
Right, but and that was still within character because it was even was his real within that back in her universe. I could have seen that Sam Lane pulling that same bullshit. Like, oh my God, you are a genius. You are gifted. Hey, buddy, want to come to my school? I could see him doing that. But I also really liked that his remorse when he realized, he made that mistake. And there was sincerity when he's just like, I am sorry. I am an idiot. This is what I did. I would like to have a relationship with you. It was great. It had nothing to do with Superman, had nothing to do with Lois, didn't even really have anything to do with Jonathan or Jordan. It was him and Natasha, and it was a good story arc.
Right. Like I said, I don't know. I'm just so torn between everything that's been falling apart, because with HBO Max kind of falling apart now and everything, where is everything going to head to? I'm kind of nervous about what's really going to happen. Like I said, except for now, like I said, just looking at Netflix today and seeing all the Sony stuff there, I think there is going to be more stabilization and more spread out again across the platforms.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Because I know like Warner Brothers is selling property or not selling, but allowing their properties to be shown on other platforms and stuff. So you will get a taste of some of this older stuff on other platforms like Tubi and so forth.
Yeah.
And that just allows better programming, hopefully, on the core stations where we could have Superman and Lois maybe transition from the CW network back to HBO Max. Who knows?
Yeah. And between the two of us, if I was confident enough in HBO's, not if HBO Max picked up Superman and Lois and said, we own the property, but we're not going to do anything. You keep doing what you're doing just under our banner now.
Yeah.
I would be all for it. Now, as much of a sinking ship as the CW is, the idea of anything about Superman and Lois being changed makes me nervous. The show is great as it is, and the direction that it's still currently heading.
Right. Yeah. It's just the new owners. How soon are they going to be starting to flesh out even more of their programming and trying to go to like reality driven stuff, which is what they're moving towards.
Yeah.
They just don't want to spend the money. They don't want to have like produce stuff. They want to do reality driven,
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the same with anybody. Like after I still blame the Real World, which granted I was a fan of the first season, but it was like after MTV was like the first ones are like, man, we've got one of the biggest shows at the time, ratings wise, for next to nothing. We rented a loft, we hired a bunch of people who are not professionals, probably paying them a fraction of what anybody with a SAG card would, make. And they made all that money, and then everybody was just like, oh shit. Dude, how much to rent your island for a week or for a month? Really? Well, that costs less than the catering for that big budget movie. Get a bunch of people on that island, let's videotape them.
Well, that's just like game shows came back a little bit. You notice they're across the networks again, on prime time.
Yeah. Because honestly, like you take your, $1 million jackpot. Okay, it costs this much to produce a movie, multi-million TV show, multi-millions of dollars. We built a stage. Every once in a while, we fork over $100,000 minus taxes. That's profit, man.
Yeah, it's all just profit because look how many ads they just sold on that show that night.
Yeah.
That's why they can have all these C celebrities come on like Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Or Jeopardy or whatever,
No, you knock Celebrity Jeopardy, man. I still will go out of my way to watch those episodes. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But, it's what's going to happen, and hopefully it's going to work in the long run. It's not quite even how I envisioned some of it. So, I didn't really think everything was going to be spread back out, but who knows,
Yep. So I think it's about time for us to wrap it up, Richard, because the overwhelming urge I have to rip on the Flash is starting to bubble to the surface. And hey, at least we did get the big answer to the question we have had for months, Richard. What happened to the baby? Evidently, she aged 5 years overnight. No. Flash sucks. Can't wait for it to be over. I mean, literally, let's just put it out of its misery. Poor Grant. That's all I had to say. Thanks everybody for watching and or listening. Again, if if you have any answers to the questions that we asked earlier, I'm genuinely curious about a lot of the Mandalorian mythology, that hasn't really been addressed in the show yet. Richard, please tell them where they can get a hold of us at.
Oops, the wrong one. The easiest way to go to UVN.plus. That's PLUS. That's our main website. You can find the links to all our socials. You can comment on Facebook or wherever and let us know what you think. Or heck, even if you want to be a guest, maybe, we're open to guests from time to time.
Yeah, we love to talk to people.
And I know we've been irregular schedule lately. I have had some family crisis and stuff like that lately. So things have been going a little rough, but I decided this weekend to get back together. So I shot out to Mike and said, hey, let's do an episode.
Yep. Well, you've been able to go to some really great basketball games these past couple weeks.
Well, that's my only thing I've been able to do. And my Buckeyes won, and they're going to the Elite Eight. So,
all right. So, behalf on Richard Catterjohn and myself, Michael Borough, thanks everybody for watching and/or listening. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anybody. We don't care. Thank you very much. And I know what I normally say, but I'm just so jazzed right now. This is the way. Richard, press the button.